All right. Let's keep the guests rolling and let's get Arian on the show.
Do it. Let's do it.
Not sure about the red.
Make your bed.
Again, always with the bed sheets. I sleep so I don't touch the red. You know what I'm saying? I sleep this way.
Okay.
I've said it a million
I was going to
times.
mention it. He had it planned. I see. Got you.
Oh.
Big up to you, Arian. Look, we'll get into your reaction about the semi-final draw, but talk to me about the game and what your thoughts on it were.
I think I think we won 4-3. I think Ange did not coach a 4-3. I think he coached maybe a 4-1 or a 4-0, and obviously Fraze wasn't having it. But we got over the line, and I think look, great. We got through. We got over the line. Semifinal, Liverpool. Let's just do it. Everybody's excited about the prospect of hopefully winning a trophy. Like Ange says himself, he usually wins things in his second season. He has up until now. So let's just hope for the best. Yeah.
What do you think of the criticism that Brian was saying? 3-0 up, you shut up shop, you get Forster to boot it long, and you don't have those problems. Was Ange part of the problem as to why we didn't see out that game?
Not only do I don't think that to be the case. Also, second, like for the second goal, the Forster was trying to boot it long when Ahmad was pressuring him. He wasn't trying to, and he had booted it long several times that game. When you said just right before I got on, you're like, oh, for the first time after the two gaps, he finally booted long. That wasn't the first time he'd done it. And also, there's a quote from Ange in the interview. I have it right here. It says, so the question was like, the interview asked him, do you think your tactics are sometimes the cause for error and the calamities at the back? And he goes, you're suggesting that in those situations I tell players to make those mistakes. I don't. There are situations where we don't need to do that. So he's going there saying, one way or the other, you have to pass it short and you have to play. He's saying you don't always need to do that. We don't always need to play tricky. We can get it out. We can boot it long. I don't think no one's an absolutist. There's always going to be situations where you have to hit it long and win the 50-50. So I wouldn't blame that on Ange. I think it's a bit silly to blame it on anybody besides Forster. It was just calamitous from him, and we got lucky to not pay for it.
But instead of talking about negative, going into a quarterfinal with the injuries that we have, playing a back line of Gray, Spence, Forster, Dragoshin, being out on our feet, playing all the same players it seems at the moment every game. Do you think and Ange deserves a lot of credit for the performance he was able to get out of that team, and the fact that we were 3-0 up, against a team like Man United under a new manager, and we got to a semi-final. Shouldn't this be a real indication
100%.
of how good of a manager Ange is?
100%, and he said it himself in that same interview. He says just the energy that we have with we have 10 players unavailable, and every single game the players are taking the game to the opposition. No one's backing down. We're playing the free-flowing offensive football, and we were 3-0 up. We absolutely deserve to be 3-0 up. At 3-0 up, I don't think anybody was going to be there and saying, "Oh, we're lucky to be 3 up." I don't think anybody would have made that argument. We absolutely, we didn't have like 70% of the ball or anything, but that doesn't always matter because every time we went forward, we looked very dangerous. Every single time we looked like we were going to score. Solanke had an absolute masterclass, I think, at the top, just displayed like we said a while ago. I think against the Brentford game, it's like he was doing what it was like when other teams have a number 9. You're like, that's what it feels like. That's what we're watching. They're always can hold up the play, poach it, get something out of nothing. And he was doing that brilliant. I think he deserved man of the match. Not that he was the only highlight. I think we always mentioned Kulusevski and Spence. I think they were also phenomenal. But the results we're getting with just the injury ravaged squad that we have, it's important to mention the last time we had this injury crisis under Ange just last season, we went winless in 5. So we've improved even in that aspect that we're dealing with injury crises better. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But we've just got it to a semifinal. We've won 2 games in a row, scoring 9 goals. There's a lot to be happy about. I really think, the more the players keep coming back, I think we're going to get better and better, and hopefully we do spend millions and millions in January.
When was the last time we won 2 games in a row? It's been a while, isn't it?
I don't know. I actually have no idea. I can look right here. I've got FootMap pulled up.
Sim? Stato?
How long was
when was the last time we won 2 games in a row?
Well, in all competitions,
yeah.
I think it was where we beat West Ham and RZ together, I think.
Okay. No, it was Man City and Aston Villa back to back.
City and Villa. But in the league. No,
it was the 2-1 and then the West Ham, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a Villa. You say the 2
Villa and then the City 2-1.
Yeah. Cup,
that was the last time. In October, going into November.
Yeah. So obviously we know we need to keep that consistency. But are you seeing? Ange says what he's seeing from the team at the moment. How we're getting through these games and getting big performances from young players like Archie and Spence in this tough period is only going to kind of when maybe you won't see the real benefits of what's happening till later down the line. Is that how you see it?
Here's like when we had Mourinho and Conte and we were flying in like the Mourinho season. I really felt that season when I think under Mourinho we all know the game it fell apart at Anfield where Bergwijn missed his chances. That was kind of the game where it always felt like to me under those coaches that if it wasn't that season, it was never. You know what I'm saying? With Ange, I feel like there's always going to be an upward trajectory. I don't leave any game or season thinking, oh, we're never going to get back to it. Even if Ange gets sacked tomorrow, I think he's left the squad in a place that is going to be progressive going down the line. So the thing is, I think these tough periods are always going to reap dividends for us in the future. That's what I think what Ange is also saying. These tough periods are very difficult on us fans, and it's the pain of a painful rebuild. But it pays out. We've seen multiple clubs do this, and it pays out massively. So I'm very optimistic about how these young players are putting in, particularly Archie Gray. I mean, how good is Archie Gray? How good is Archie Gray? Seriously, every single time we've seen him playing a position that's not his, and he has absolutely stepped up more than pretty much any other player. He's just doing 18 years old. He's younger than me. He's younger than me out on that field, and he's playing at center back, and he's not even a center back, and he's doing a phenomenal. Doesn't look out of place one bit. I mean, I can't say anything besides that. He's a phenomenal footballer.
Arian, can I ask you a question, mate? What would be your targets for Ange this season in terms of league position or, let's say, trophy wins? What would make sure that he's secured his position for next year? Like, what do you think is the threshold?
What do I think? Like, if I was Levy, or what do I think Levy would hold? Like,
well, both. Let's just go for both. Like, what do you think he needs to do to hit his targets to keep his job for next year? And what do you think Levy expects?
I think if we get to really deep in the Europa League and we get top 6, it'll be enough for Levy. I think if we get 5th, no matter what happens in the Cups, because 5th is probably going to be Champions League, that's always going to be enough for a Spurs manager to stay in the job. Yeah, I think if we just qualify for Europe or our Champions League, Ange will stay in. I don't think it's like his job's going to be in danger if he finishes even in Europa League spots. For me personally, I probably wouldn't sack him unless we're in threat of relegation. That's just me. I want to stay with him as long as I can. Because
so if we were like 13th, 14th, you would still keep him for next year?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would. I know I'm going to get called lots of names, because I think the tough period. Okay, I'll say this. I think if we are 13th or 14th, it'll be the product of things that are not really in Ange's control, like the squad. Not saying that he wouldn't be able to get better results if we were to play more pragmatic, but I think if you give this type of football time and you give him young players and you give him time to grow those players, I think we're going to get dividends, because you can invest in a project with two things. You can either invest with money, or you can invest in it with time. So if you're not going to invest in money, you have to invest the time. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything. That's kind of the way I look at it.
You said you weren't. You said about the squad. So what's the problem with the squad? He was happy with the transfer window. He was happy with the transfer window in the summer, right?
Sure. Yeah, but that doesn't mean every problem was solved. It's not about the players we did buy. It's about the players we didn't buy. So it's not that the players we bought are not good. Archie Gray is a great player. Bergwall's a great player. But Solanke's a great player. But we didn't get another center back. Now Archie Gray has to play center back. We didn't get another midfielder, and Bissouma is ridiculously inconsistent. Like, it's those, and we didn't get another left back, and now Udogie's playing basically every game. It's those issues that are plaguing the squad. Not that the players we bought are like not good enough. I don't think that's the case. So I think if you give it time, and you give him a few more windows to get a deeper squad, I think we can pull it off.
Since obviously that Bournemouth game where Ange out was really at probably the loudest, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
We've drawn against Rangers, we've beaten Southampton 5-0, and now we're through to the Carabao Cup semi-final against Man United. So, how much time do you think he has bought himself with these recent results in terms of preventing that kind of situation where a lot of people are calling for it to happen again?
I think hopefully with the fans he's bought a little bit, because I think the game against Liverpool at the weekend, it's one of those where it's not going to be the end of the world if we lose. I don't think people are going to hold him by to the sword if we lose against the best team in the country. And he'll buy himself a little bit of time, probably get to January, get a little I think he'll see out the season now, unless we get really disastrous, which hopefully we wouldn't, because the injuries are.
Do you think we're through the worst of it now? Are you hopeful?
I do think so. I do think we're through the worst of it. I don't think we're gonna have periods where we're like winless in 4, like we were from Roma to Chelsea. I think we're through the absolute worst of it. And that's kind of we're through it. And if he survived that, I don't think there's going to be anything else he can't survive, especially, like I said, with January coming up, and we could just use 1 or 2 players, and then the injuries coming back, freshen up the squad, and then we'll have enough to kind of fire on all 3 fronts, or 4 fronts.
And to end the cool reaction to getting Liverpool in the semi-finals, first of all, was that the one you wanted, or was that the one you wanted to most avoid, and do you think we have a chance?
I really didn't have a prep. Every time I was thinking which one would I want, I could think of 30 reasons why I wouldn't want them and 30 reasons why I would want them. Because Newcastle are obviously the worst side, but they also play pretty much the exact type of football that is like antithetical to Ange ball, and they could get through us. And also they're going to be right up for it. St. James's Park is a difficult ground for us to go to. And then on the other hand, Arsenal, we all know everything with Arsenal. We have a terrible record at the Emirates. They play the most defensive terrorist football I've ever seen in my life. And then Liverpool are Liverpool. They're but also they rotate. But the thing with rotating is they like the game after, like in that week, they have Man United on January 5th, which I guarantee you what's going to happen is their game's going to get postponed and ours against Newcastle isn't going to get postponed. And then they have, after that game, let's assume they play it, they have us, and then they have Accrington Stanley. I don't think they're going to rotate to beat Accrington Stanley the weekend. I'm not super optimistic that they're gonna rotate heavily, but maybe if they're tired from other games, and they have way more games than we do in the coming 3 weeks. So, obviously I don't hope any injuries on players, but they're likelier to get injuries than we are.
Why Accrington Stanley? Because isn't the second leg's in 3rd of February? I thought.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the first leg they have us, and then the game after us. Got you. So I don't know I don't think they'd be resting anybody for Accrington Stanley. I think they'd be like, okay, we'll play the youth against Accrington Stanley if anything, and then we'll be ready to go against Spurs. And that's especially if they get their game in the weekend postponed, since it is on a Sunday. We might be, seeing a very fresh fit. I don't know, maybe because if we play on January 6th, their game's on January 5th.
No, it's the week of the January 6th. So is that midweek?
Okay. All right. So if it probably won't get postponed, but I don't think they're gonna. I'd be surprised if they rotate, to be honest with you. So that's the only concern. But we might have a day. If it doesn't get postponed, then we'd have a day of rest on them.
How significant is the fact that it's second leg away instead of at home?
I don't know. I mean, the thing with Anfield is like if we can somehow scrap a 1 or 2-0 win at home, or 2-1 or 3-1. If we can get a win at home, we don't always get, like, we score at Anfield. We just don't win. What happens at Anfield isn't that we get dominated into the floor. It's always like we score 3 and then Lucas Moura passes it to Jota in the last minute.
Hey, stop it.
So it's stuff like that. Anfield's cursed more than it is that we just get dominated. We always score at Anfield. So it's not. We just need to not do terribly. We can lose, but we need to just control how terrible that loss is.
Eric Edmond.
Eric Edmond. What was our score at Anfield last year? It was 4-0, and then we got 2 late goals. And we could have got back in that game if we scored a few chances. I remember
that one under Ryan Mason. I'll never forget where we were 3-0
oh my
down.
God.
Oh my. And then he was like, "It's always this place. It's always here." On the touchline.
Okay. Arian, brilliant to see you as always, mate. Lovely to chat to you. And we'll see you all very, very soon.
See you very soon. And as always, come on, you Spurs!
Come on!